Can you,
We're all set. Sorry,
all right,
couldn't get my mic off.
let's call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order on February 17th, 2021. As chairman of the Finance Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, as well as subsequent extensions, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I'm confirming that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. To access Zoom, please refer to the agenda or to the city's website for the meeting link. To join by phone, dial 1-929-205-6099. The meeting ID is 830-7743-6548, and the passcode is 738100. The public may also view the meeting via channel 16. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting through public postings. Instructions have been provided on the City of Nashua's website at www.nashuanh.gov and publicly noticed at City Hall and the Nashua Public Library. If anyone has a problem accessing the meeting via phone or channel 16, please call 603-821-2049 and they will help you connect. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting via the methods mentioned above, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during the meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Now, is the clerk present? Alderman Harriet Gathright?
You're muted.
Yes, I am here.
Okay,
I
good.
can see you.
Can you please call the roll?
Absolutely. Alderman Patricia Clee.
I am here. I can hear the proceedings and I am alone.
Alderwoman Elizabeth Liu. I don't see her. Clerk, I am present. I can hear everyone and I am alone. Alderwoman at Large Shoshana Kelly. Alderman at Large Brandon Michael Laws.
I'm here. I can hear you and I am alone.
Alderman at Large Michael B. O'Brien Sr.
I am present. I can hear the proceedings and I am alone.
And Mayor Jim Dodges.
I'm here. I'm social distancing pursuant to the governor's emergency order, and I'm in the room alone.
And we have 5 in attendance.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Public comment. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak to the committee? We'll go on to communications. The first communication from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Mr. Mayor, I motion to accept, place on file, and approve the 3-year renewal of NOBI 4 Security Awareness Training subscription to NOBI 4 in the amount of $19,388.16. Funding will be through Department 122 Information Technology, account 54407, software maintenance, by roll call.
Now, is Ms. Kleiner on the call?
Yes.
Ms. Kleiner? Do you think
You're
she's
muted.
on? Yes.
Good evening. I am here. I believe that Mr. Cottington is here to answer any questions the committee may have.
Well, could someone give us a brief explanation as to what this is?
Yes, this is Bruce Cognon, IT Director for the City of Nashua. The Know Before is the security training that we do for all employees in the area of spam and phishing attacks, and to ensure that all employees are helpful in protecting the city's assets. We also do tests to employees on a regular basis to see whether or not they fall for a phishing attack, and in some cases have to be retrained. So this is a service that we subscribe to for that purpose.
Now I notice that Alderwoman Lou is also present and should be recorded as such. Oh, you should, Alderwoman Lou, you should probably follow the protocol of telling us, whether you're in the room alone and et cetera.
Yes, I am here alone, and I can hear the proceedings.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Cottignoon?
Mr. Mayor, Michael O'Brien. I would just like to say that I am going to definitely support this. Actually, falling victim myself to Mr. Cottignoon's test that was given, because I receive a plethora of amount of emails from very worthwhile constituents. But the thing is, we all heard the tragedies of municipalities that have been held hostage and other different things that can happen negatively if somebody enters into our system. So even though, it's sort of like getting a little bit of a warning when you're speeding down the street, so I'll take the slap, but I definitely support this for what it does. Thank you.
Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'm going to echo Alderman O'Brien's words. I support it too. And having fallen victim to some of the phishing emails that the test ones, I most definitely think that it's a worthwhile thing. I thought I was in my personal email and clicked on a link to Google Photos because my niece-in-law just had baby, and I was on the city website. So on the city email. So yes, it's a good thing. I think it makes us all a little bit more suspicious, and it educates us better. And I'm grateful that we have it to keep us all in line. So thank you.
All right, well, thank you. And anyone else?
Yes.
Alderman
ditto.
Gathright.
I ditto my colleagues. It is well worth it. I think we all have fell short in it.
All right, good.
Mr. Mayor, I think we need to have a little bit of counseling session on this of who is falling victim to this. Bruce, can you run like a little rehab for us or something?
Yeah.
Well, let me say categorically, if you get an email from me asking for gift cards, do not answer it. How about that?
Yeah.
That works, sir.
Because I'm never going to email you asking for gift cards. And that's happened a few times. So, okay, could the clerk please call the roll?
Okay. Alderman Clee,
Most definitely, yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Dodges.
Yes. Motion passes. Next item is another communication from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
I motion to accept, place on file, and approve the annual software assurance renewal to Info Smart Office in the amount of $274,847.69. Funding will be through Department 122 Information Technology Account 54407, software maintenance by roll call.
Mr. Cottignoon, are you going to explain this one?
Yes, Bruce Cognon, again for the record, IT Director for the City of Nashua. This is our yearly maintenance for Infor Lawson, which is the ERP application for the entire city, including police, fire, schools and city departments for HR, payroll, financials, the employee self-service. So it is the yearly maintenance for all those functions.
Any questions, discussion? Alderwoman.
I have-
Cleve.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I apologize. I had seen this, meant to ask the question prior to the meeting, so I apologize for doing this. But when I went through each of the line items, I noticed there was a teacher's contract admin on it for 1,500 users. Do we, where they have a separate budget from the rest of the city, do we do a chargeback, so to speak, on that, so that their budget is, Mr. Mayor, maybe you can answer this, or Director Kleiner? No, we don't. Director Kleiner, I can see your head shaking no. So.
Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead, please.
So there are some items on here, and we do handle the Infor package through the city. It is handled through the IT division. You know, it's important that this is handled through IT. It's handled through one significant, department who's overseeing. So we have a number of employees, Mr. Miservich, Mr. Pearl, that work on this software and know it and support it. It's very significant. Both Mr. Griffin and I work with schools and in a number of different fashions, so it really wouldn't be worthwhile to do that. I did look at that particular item and questioned the 1,500 users, but I think I was going to check back with Bruce, Mr. Cottington later. I'm not sure that that is specifically accurate to that line item. Although I get your point on the 1,500. I don't think you're not being charged for the 1,500. That's a total of all the software that it covers.
If I may follow up, Mr.
Yes,
Mayor?
yes, please.
I wasn't necessarily questioning. I mean, I did think that 1,500 seemed like quite a few, just like the human resources package having 3,500 users. But then I assumed that it was all of the employees that were able to access and so on. But I just didn't know if we knew what the cost of that was, if we did a chargeback to the school department to their budget. You know how we're doing some kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but last year I noticed that we were doing some like chargebacks. In other words, it would fall into one department. They did the service, but then there was a line item on their budget too. So I didn't know if this fell into their budget as well. And I can see Mr. Cottingham has a comment as well.
Right, if I could clarify, the money that we pay for Infor Lawson is a lump sum. So all the different line items, such as teacher's contract and the employee self-service and all those things, we're not paying by line item. So even if we eliminate something from that line or charge someone else, we don't have a price per line. We have it for the entire thing, for the entire application. So it would be very difficult to figure out per line item, if we wanted to charge, 2,500 employees for HR to schools, we don't know what that line item breaks down to. So it'd be very difficult to do that line item chargeback.
That answers my question perfectly. Thank you so much, both of you.
All right, any other questions or comments? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
No, I'm sorry. I was looking for my mute.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
fine. Alderwoman Lou.
Thank you. The only question I had about this contract is when I saw Lawson on it, I wondered, are we using that program to, do we only use that for one application, which is the abatement tracking or?
No, again, my Bruce Gagnon, IT Director. It's not even used for anything dealing with abatements or assessing or anything. A Lawson is used for the financials, payroll, HR, and employee self-service. So mostly all the financials within the city are controlled within Lawson.
I had asked a question last week or last meeting about the presentation of the abatement disbursements. And the answer that I got to that over the interim, Mayor Donchis, was that those disbursements for the rebates are processed via our Lawson program. And we don't know how to get Lawson to talk to what we use for our record of expenditures. No, the other question was whether we would even want to do that. The discussion never got that far. But I was under the impression that those abatement names are held in Lawson. That's what I was told.
Mayor, if I may, Mayor.
Well, I did, as I was going to get to this when we did reach the record of expenditures, but I thought the question was, were we legally required to state the name of the owner of the property when an abatement check was written, if the abatement check was payable to a mortgage company or some third party, which happens now and again. And the answer I received from legal was no, there's no legal requirement that the owner be stated. And there were some reasons why that's not always so, why it might be difficult to do that. Mortgage companies are more interested in the account number than the name of the owner, because a mortgage company may have a number of properties with one owner, and if all they got is the owner's name as opposed to the account number for the property, then they wouldn't know which property to apply it to. But I was really asking the legal question, is that somehow required by the ordinance? And the answer to that was no. Now the rest of it, maybe Ms. Kleiner can address.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So I think there's, to clarify, Lawson is the financial package. So when you talk about the disbursements, the actual check being cut is through Treasury. That's the Lawson. The abatement, right? So when the abatement comes in, the abatement is processed through assessing, goes to the Board of Assessors, and is approved by the Board of Assessors. We issue a report to Treasury on behalf of the Board of Assessors to authorize the payment. So while I understand maybe the difference is a little confusing, the actual check being cut is a finance.
Thank you. Thank you. I would just like to follow up with something.
Yeah, of course.
My original query was just, it didn't seem to follow the spirit of it doesn't seem transparent to me. And to talk about it being a financial item, I mean, so are disbursements for overpayment of, for camp fees, for overpayment of for refunds on car registrations and that type of thing. So my thought is simply, if it's possible to have the property owners listed there, then I think it provides more transparency. And we don't typically go to people that we're cutting checks for and say, do you want that check cut to yourself, or would you prefer it be cut to someone else? Or would you prefer it to be cut in the name of your financial institution? We just cut the check to the people we owe money to. So that's the point that I wanted to make. And I wondered whether, if it's decided, if it were decided that that's a more transparent way to go, then would Lawson be able to somehow train our staff to allow it to talk to the record of expenditures, or is this, say, the way it does with other payments, checks sent out to different people?
Now, of course, the issue of who's getting abatements and how much is totally public and transparent. The only issue is, where do you look for it? So you can get that from the assessing office at any time. And this is just a record of checks that are cut. So if someone wanted to know who's getting an abatement and for how much, this would not be the best place to go. I mean, there's just another place to get that information.
Right. Well, thank you. I don't think people know they can go to, they'd have to, contact an individual at City Hall and say, hey, I'd like a list of who got abatements. People don't typically want to do that. I just think it's a better policy. But I've had my say. Thank you very much.
All right. Any other questions or comments? If not, we were simply following a question. We did vote on the second issue, right? The second, did we vote on that? No. Okay. Could you please call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Alderman Laws, Alderman Laws, you still there?
Alderman Laws.
Yeah.
Alderman O'Brien
Yes.
and Mayor Dodges.
Yes, and the motion passes. Next item is another communication from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
A motion to accept, place on file, and approve the engineering service contract for task required by EPA MS4 permit with Hazen and Sawyer PC of Manchester, Mass. in the amount of $187,550. Funding will be through Department 169 wastewater, fund wastewater activity, stormwater abatement by roll call.
All right, is Mr. Hudson here?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
So the city is under a number of EPA permits. This one here is for the Municipal Separated Storm Sewer System, otherwise known as MS4. And this is for all the stormwater discharges that aren't part of our combined sewer system. So this is for closed drainage systems that discharge to rivers and that sort of thing. So this permit is focused obviously on water quality. As part of that permit, there's a number of things that we need to do as a city. Record keeping, testing of stormwater outfalls, making sure we are implementing best management practices for the treatment of stormwater, things like that. So, this is a large permit, requires a lot of effort to comply with. And so this is hiring an engineering company to help us stay in compliance with that permit.
Okay. Discussion, questions? Alderwoman Lou. You're muted. You're muted. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Is this a charge to solid waste or to wastewater?
Wastewater.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Mayor Donches.
Yes, and the motion passes. Next communication is from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
I motion to accept, place on file, and approve the contract with Mass Crane Corporation of Tingsboro, Massachusetts in the amount of $47,280 for replacing the dry well host in the raw sewage pump room at the Nashua Wastewater Treatment Facility. Funding will be through Department 160 Wastewater Fund worth, is that supposed to be worth or sir? Account 71 Equipment by roll call.
All right, now is Mr. Boucher here?
Yes, I am, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
David Boucher, wastewater superintendent. Yes, this is for the replacement of a 3-ton hoist at the wastewater plant that's reached its useful life. We put it out to bid. We had 2 bidders, and Mass Crane was the low bid on it. Mass Crane is a company that's worked with us, installed several hoists at the wastewater plant. They do our inspection of our hoists and safety equipment. And this is a hoist that is used to lift our raw sewage pumps. I'll take any questions if you have them.
Questions, comments? All right, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Donches.
Yes, and the motion passes. Next item is a communication from Kelly Parkinson. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
I motion to accept, place on file, and approve the contract with Woodard Huron to prepare plans and specifications for Phase 2 pump station upgrades, rebid in an amount not to exceed $39,500. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund, Surf Loan, Activity Pump Station Upgrades, Phase 2 by roll call.
Mr. Boucher?
Yeah, David Boucher, wastewater superintendent. So we're near completion on Phase 1, and we're prepping to put Phase 2 out to bid, hopefully in April. Prior to putting out the bid, we have to get the services of Woodard and Curran, who are the original design planners for the project. It was originally one project to have all 12 pump stations upgraded. We broke it down into 2 separate. So we need the original designers to modify the plans to take out all of the pump stations that are complete and modify the specs of the pump stations that are going to be in Phase 2. Plus, they're going to do some changes that we've requested before we put it out to bid. So we're hoping to go out to bid April 19th. The reason we have to use Woodard and Curran is because it's an SRF qualified loan, and the state requires that the plans be stamped by the original designers.
All right. Discussion, questions on this item? All right, could you please call the roll?
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Donches.
Yes, and the motion passes. Thank you very much. Now we have another item from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Mr. Mayor, I motion to accept, place on file, and approve the contract with Thorne Tomasetti, Inc. of Portland, Maine for an existing conditions study of Elm, and High Street parking garages in an amount not to exceed $40,845. Funding will be through Department 166 Parking by roll call.
All right, is Mr. Cummings here?
Yeah.
I am, yes, Mayor.
Could you please brief us on this one?
Yes, certainly. So for the record, Tim Cummings, Director of Economic Development. And what you have before you tonight is a contract for, as outlined, an existing conditions type study, basically on the deferred capital maintenance on our two parking structures in the downtown, the High Street and Elm Street parking garages. This item has been hanging out for quite a while. We put an RFP out before COVID-19. We received something like 5 or 6 responses. We narrowed it down to 2. We did 2 interviews. COVID hit, we pressed pause on everything. To be clear, this is not the parking study relative to best practices and looking at the marketplace supply and demand. That's a separate contract that we've already awarded. This is a very specific contract that we wanted to pursue relative to the maintaining our capital assets. So with that being said, with that parking study still being on hold, we thought it would be prudent to move forward with what we could, which is obviously the study of the parking structures. So we're before you tonight asking for permission to move forward with the contract that's before you, hoping to have it wrapped up in the next couple of months so we can evaluate and understand what we have for maintenance that we may need to pursue. The last time we did something like this was, I'm going to say 10 plus years ago. And as a rule of thumb in the industry, this is something that should be done every 10 or so years. So we're on track for it. Thank you.
So of course, what you're trying to do is determine what shape these garages are in and what repairs might be necessary. Correct?
That's correct, Mayor.
And the High Street garage is more than 40 years old. And the Elm Street garage is about 35. So these have some age and they might need maintenance. So that's the point.
That's correct, Mayor. I think it's safe to say that these will need maintenance, and the best practice is to do ongoing continuous maintenance of your parking structures. It's much easier to maintain an existing asset than trying to build a brand new parking structure, which could be cost prohibitive.
All right, any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yeah, Mr. Cummings, are you seeing anything of really concern like spalling or anything else in these garages that, because I support this. We invested heavily into these garages. We must take care of our infrastructure, but are we showing true wear and tear with it?
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Yes, Alderman O'Brien, we are seeing some wear and tear, particularly around the joints, which is what we want to make sure we have a good understanding of, because the water damage gets through and starts at the top and goes all the way through the structure.
Alderwoman Lou.
Thank you, Mayor Donches. I had a couple of questions about the how we'll pay for it, but I wondered through you to Director Cummings, would the people who are doing our parking study have been able to do this type of thing, or is this more of an engineering contract?
Yes, so the group that we hired, separate from, it would be a separate business unit within the company, does offer this type of service. And so we could have pursued it, and they were one of the respondents that actually put in a bid for the proposal for this project.
Okay, and their price didn't come out right?
Well, their price was cheaper than this contract, but it wasn't an apples to apples comparison because they didn't include everything that we were asking for in the proposal. They were going to not do quote unquote some new testing. They were going to use some old data that they had on file to make an assessment. So if taking that into consideration, we felt it wasn't the best way to move forward. That coupled with the interviews, there was 2 interviews by various stakeholders within City Hall, building safety, risk, parking, obviously. They felt that it would be good to get a fresh set of eyes on
Okay.
on this.
The other question I had, maybe for Ms. Parkinson, what dollar amount is going to other contracted services versus consulting? Do we have that breakdown? I know sometimes we're provided that. I just don't see $40,845 in other contracted services.
Other contracted services is 31,100,
Okay.
and consulting services is 9,745.
Okay. So the budgeted.
Can we clarify that this is prior escrows money? So we escrowed money for this
Oh, I see.
initiative. So this is not in our operating budget, to be clear.
Oh, well, okay. Is it in a fund, a different fund that it's coming from?
Yes, it was done through the escrow process, and then the separate charge is going to be from the parking trust fund that was set up to support parking related type of needs.
So what are the 2 funds the $2 amounts are coming from?
So again, the 30 and change is coming from a prior year escrow, and the 10,000 is coming from a parking trust fund.
Ms. Parkinson, would you be able to get that to me?
To get you the breakdown?
You know, I don't know if I'm alone in the committee who recalls when other meetings when we've had. I'm used to having a specific breakdown and what fund or account. Not necessarily what the charge, whether it would be other contracted services, but where is it held now? What is that escrow account? Certainly someone here knows the answer to that.
So what an escrow is
Oh, I understand what the escrow is, but aren't they all named or numbered?
yes, they all are named and numbered. So we can get you, now this, as I'm looking at this, this tells you that the account is 55699. But certainly Ms. Parkinson can get you a memo on this.
Well, 55699 indicates other contracted services. And Ms. Parkinson said 311 is going from there. Yeah.
Well, the escrow may be named other contracted services. But we can get you the clarification or the detail. That's no problem.
Sorry, I cut my teeth on Dan Kukin, and I think I just, maybe I'm not flexible enough, but thank you. If you could, that would be great.
I'll get you.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll follow up on that. Any other questions or comments? All right, could the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Cleat,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou.
Yes.
Clerk says yes. Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Mayor Dodges.
Yes, the motion passes. Unfinished business, we have none. New business resolutions, we have none. New business ordinances, we have none. Record of expenditures. Is there a motion on the record of expenditures, Madam Clerk?
The Mayor, I motion that the Finance Committee has complied with the city charter and ordinance pertaining to the record of expenditures for the period from January the 29th, 2021 to February 11th, 2021 by roll call.
All right, any discussion or questions on the record of expenditures? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Alderman Clay,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Alderman O'Brien, I'm sorry, Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Dodges.
Yes, and the motion passes. General discussion, any general discussion? Public comment, any member of the public wish to speak to the committee? Any remarks by Alderman?
Um,
Alderwoman
Yes, I
Lou?
have one. Thank you, Mayor Donches. I just wanted to ask about, actually, maybe it's a discussion, but have we had our oh darn, now I can't think of the name of it, our annual review?
Audit?
Yeah, it's not an audit, but it's a CAFR, right?
Yeah, well, the CAFR is the output from the audit.
Right. When does that usually come out?
That comes out soon.
Okay. What what I would love to see is for like the accepted budget. I've asked a few people for this, but sometimes I want to look at the current budget, the adopted budget,
Yes.
but there's nowhere to find it because the website only has the proposed budget. And I've mentioned this a few times. I mean, there were changes to our proposed budget.
Yes, definitely.
So
The final budget should be there, and
I agree.
if it's not there, the proposed budget is interesting, but the final budget is really the operative document.
I'm with you 100%. I agree with that. Yeah.
So Ms. Kleiner, do you have any insight into that? Are you still on?
I am, Mayor. I'm sorry, I'm looking now. I thought it had been updated, but we will follow up tomorrow and make sure that it's posted.
And Mr. Griffin is not on here, is he?
No, I don't believe he is. I do know that Rose Evans is currently working on the CAFA report with our auditors. I'm sorry, my internet's slow. I was looking for the budget, but we'll make sure that it's there.
Yes,
Follow
yes. Well, it's the past, the budget that was finally enacted, which is the most important.
Right. I've actually asked for it several times and had it sent to me, but I don't really want to save it to it's such a big thing.
Yes.
I thought eventually it would just be posted.
Well, it should be there.
Yes.
So they'll check that out.
Great. And just one other thing, we haven't had any bond sales during 2020. Is that correct?
2021, you mean?
No, I meant during the calendar year 2020, there weren't any bond sales, were there?
There were in the fall.
Because there's also,
Now, I think
I don't think that's been posted to the website either.
in the fall, the AAA bond rating was reaffirmed, and that occurs when bonds are sold.
Because I noticed that there are reports for years past detailing the bond sales, and that did not get up there either. I've just wanted to point out that, especially during this time of pandemic, when the city hall is closed and people get all of their information online, we should be extra careful to get this information available.
Correct. What do you think there, Ms. Kleiner? I would have thought that David Fredette would have posted the rating report.
Yes, Mayor, I agree. That's very unusual. So I'm wondering if there's not another issue. But again, we'll look into it first thing in the morning.
Okay.
May I just add, did you say the rating report?
Yeah, so when
Yes.
bonds are sold,
Mhm.
the Standard & Poor's and Fitch, two rating agencies, re-rate the city.
I
And
think that is up there.
that is up there.
Yes, it
But
is.
that's not what I'm talking about, however.
So you want to know how much was sold, right? And when?
Well, In past years from 2019 and earlier, posted to the website, I guess as a matter of routine, there was bond issuances, and you could look at that and see what that bond paid for. It's called, I believe, a financial report or something very vague like that, but it's under the finance tab.
All right, well, David Fredette is probably responsible for posting all that, so we'll check that out too. So thank you for bringing that to our attention.
My pleasure.
These things should be on the website, as you pointed out. Now, I'm not, I'm getting it separately, so I'm not looking at the website every day for stuff like this, but other people from the public easily could be. So yes, we will definitely check it out. Thank you. Any other remarks by Alderman? All right, Alderwoman Clee.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn by roll call, please.
Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Clerk says yes. Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Dodges.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. And the meeting is adjourned at 7:46 p.m.